Hi everyone, it's Victor, and today I'm here to speak about the Mercury retrograde chart. So we're going to break it down in different ways. One of them is going to be looking at the actual Mercury retrograde chart, because this time around it's going to be kind of like a month transit. So it's going to be repeating some of them. It's going to be meeting Jupiter 3 times, which, by the way, I made a video about. So I'm not going to break it down as deeply as I did in the previous video. Make sure you listen to that. But Mercury will be also making 3 aspects to Pluto as well. So we're going to break that down a little bit. And also, towards the end of the video, we're going to be speaking about what to do and what not to do during Mercury retrograde period as a general description of that. So let's get started. Now, Mercury retrograde is something which happens 4 times a year. So it's probably nothing new. This is the most spoken about subject in astrology, but we rarely look at actually the Mercury retrograde chart, the moment when Mercury goes retrograde or Mercury goes direct, because it's going to be describing a couple of months of events for us. Now, Mercury entered this, the shadow period on the 6th of September. It's going retrograde on the 27th of September. Then on the 18th of October, it's going station direct. And then 3rd of November, it exits the shadow period also. So we can say that we are all safe from Mercury retrograde. I tend to believe that the shadow period is always a little bit more dangerous than the retrograde itself. So the shadow period does bring up certain type of things for us. And the reason being is because what happens is Mercury slows down. His general speed is about 1.5 to 2 degrees. 2 degrees it's fastest, but when it slows down, it just goes 0.30, 0.20 degrees a day, and that's against its natural movement. So therefore, of course, Mercury feels kind of restricted a little bit. Now, Mercury will be going retrograde on 25 degrees 28 minutes, which is in the sign of Libra. It's falling into Gemini, Decan, and Cancer Dwad. So Libra is all about connections, Gemini is all about talking things out, and the Cancer Dwad represents our feeling. So one of the major message is definitely about speaking the truth when it comes to our own feeling. So as I said, it's happening in the sign of Libra, which is talking about negotiations, personal relationship, business partnerships, and so forth. And typically, this placement for Mercury is not too bad. The reason being is because Mercury is all about socializing, and Libra does like socializing also. It does like talking, it does like negotiating with others. So generally speaking, it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, this time around, there will be some issues with this Mercury retrograde, and that's the reason why I wanted to make a video about it. Now, Libra is an air sign, so that's one of the reasons why Mercury loves being in the sign of Libra, because air signs overall is about communication, gathering facts, socializing, connecting with others. Libra is typically about looking at the needs of other people. Now, Libra is a Venus ruled sign, so Venus position will be also very important in this chart. Now, if we kind of start putting things together, Mercury is very much about the speaking abilities. Libra is about other people. So it's very much about talking to someone, but in a very diplomatic way, or in a very fair way. Libra is a people pleaser, so it's not going to be harsh. It's not going to be, you know, stirring the pots up, because it does look at other people's motives, and it does look at other people's feelings as well. Another trait with Mercury is that we should be listening. We should be listening to others, discussing things in a diplomatic way. However, if we start looking at what is going on in the world, we can see that maybe the talks going around at the moment is not actually that nice. And one of the reasons is because once Mercury goes retrograde, actually it's going to be having a square with Pluto. Now, this already happened on the 23rd of September, but as I mentioned, it goes on 24 degree, but it goes retrograde on the 27th. So it's going to be forming one more square with Pluto, which is going to be lasting till about 8th of October. So something needs to be revisited when it comes to Plutonian themes. Not to mention that Pluto is also squaring Eris, which is an asteroid. I made a video about that also, so you might want to be checking that out. So basically, these three planetary figures are forming a T-square. And T-square is all about tension. It's all about some type of disruption in the energy matters. So if we start putting together what this Mercury and Pluto talks about, it talks about talking about actually power struggles. Mercury is the talk, Pluto is the power struggle. So whatever Pluto touches, it actually intensifies those. So those lovely and fair and beautiful words, which Mercury in Libra would be thriving for, Pluto actually explodes that. Pluto is about people in control, people in powerful positions. It does talk about leadership in the sign of Capricorn. And of course, it talks about the banking system and overall the power itself. So these might be topics in the upcoming couple of months. And Libra, Mercury is always thriving to find some type of agreements. Now, this Pluto is going to be stirring the pots up. And it might cause some type of struggle to find those agreements or struggle to actually make a contract between two people. Mercury is your mental capacity, and Pluto intensifies that. So it could really talk about being nervous. The brain can be running 24/7. We can actually worry a lot. Now, Mercury and Pluto square or opposition is one of the recipe or one of the ingredients in the recipe for mental disturbance. And this could be very true on a social level. So, but also Mercury square Pluto can lead to a very deep and intense way of thinking or interactions with other people, with your partner, with your loved ones, or overall, some type of heated debates as well. It's actually a very good aspect to do some type of research around a specific idea, what you have got, or a specific topic. But we do need to be aware that Pluto has got this obsessive nature. So we can take things way too seriously, or we can take them to the extremes. So Pluto, Mercury really could talk about the conspiracy theories. So we probably this square is a little bit of a reminder that you're gonna have to step away a little bit and then examine the data, what you've got in front of you. And because Mercury is in the sign of Libra, which is very strategic, you're gonna have to be creating a plan for yourself. And that's how you can escape from all the conspiracy theories. Now, it could bring you plenty of extreme ideas, actually. And then with Pluto, which is the planet of manipulation, wanting to convince others. So you've got the ability to actually get people on your side as well. But at the same time, it's very possible that you will be criticized as well. And therefore, because it's a square at the end of the day, so it could lead to some type of conflict as well. Pluto, Mercury, square can really talk about a defense code mechanism also. So because I want to be protecting my own truth. And I tend to be calling actually the Pluto Mercury aspects as the truth serum. So it's very possible that some truth will be revealed. Maybe you're going to be true to yourself and you're going to have this internal dialogue going on within your soul. and you're going to start being honest about certain topics. So actually it can pick your brain and tell you that, you know, it's time to recognize maybe some type of thought patterns in my head. But also it's very possible that we're going to have all these type of news which we're going to be reading in social media channels, and then we won't be able to decide whether it's true or not. So one of the positive side of this aspect, that it gives us the strength to investigate the truth of the matter. So it asks you to dig deeper before you actually, before you become a little bit superficial about the information what you've got. It's very good to uncover secrets and mysteries, and kind of like having a deeper understanding how your thought process is going. So maintaining an open mind might be a very clever idea this time around. Now, also when we speak about this honesty part with Pluto and Mercury, you know, it might be something you are trying to find, trying to hide from yourself or trying to hide from others. And it might be time to actually have a look at that. So I think on a collective and on a personal level as well, things will get revealed to you. And somehow some type of uncertainty will be coming onto the surface, and then you get the truth about it. So as I mentioned, the very first square happened on the 23rd of September. Today is on the 25th. And the next one will be on the 1st of October. And then we're going to have one more at the end of the month as well. So, you know, talking about this truth serum a little bit more, you know, sometimes it can be very, very revealing and very healing. And that's the Plutonian part of it. Because Pluto empowers us. Pluto wants us to take our power back. But of course, Pluto is the first step. What always Pluto does is destroy things. So we can actually destroy trust within others, or we can just hurt others by the way we speak. And I think it's a little bit hurtful, surely, because as I mentioned, Mercury is going retrograde on Cancerian Dwat, which is about emotions. So somehow what we are told, we actually soak into those. And then we kind of trying to make logic, Mercury, of our emotions as well. And of course, it's very hard. So emotionally revealing moments, that's how I would call this Mercury retrograde squaring Pluto. Also, you know, Mercury is the facts. So speaking about this a little bit, you know, we've got 4 houses which are in charge of information and knowledge, but they are a little bit different. The 3rd house is the factual knowledge, when we start actually investigating some of the topics which we are interested in. The 12th house is when we are trying to take the that knowledge into a different realm, and then we try to make emotional sense of that knowledge. The 3rd house is more about the left brain activities, like solving math problems, solving puzzles, writing, reading. Reading is good for developing both left and right brain. It's about learning a new language, playing games that require a little bit of a imagination, playing intelligence and strategy game. So all those type of energies are 3rd. So as I said, the 3rd house is somehow when you've got some type of factual data, but it might be a little bit superficial, yeah, that's the word. Okay, so, and then when we get to the 12th house, that's basically the right brain activities. So the drawing, playing an instrument, singing, reading, writing and composing, playing games that require imagination. So it does both belong to the 3rd and the 9th house as well, and playing colorful and audible intelligence games. So that's the 12th house energy. So, but in the 12th house, we tend to be getting that information a little bit more, as I said, emotionally integrated in a way. Now, the next one is the ninth house, which talks about information again. So the ninth house is kind of like when we unify the third and the ninth house energy. So somehow that's the balance of the factual data and the spiritual data. And the very last one is actually the sixth house, which also talks about information. And that is the house where we practically testing what we've learned so far. And then basically picking the information apart and then seeing which one is, the truth, which one is not the truth, and all those type of things. So that would be the difference here between information. So third house is left brain, factual data. 12th house is intuitive knowledge, the right brain data. Ninth house is the integrational of the two, merging the information which you merge into belief, philosophy, and you've got a higher understanding of that. And then the sixth house is testing the knowledge, what works and what's not, kind of like the practical application of that information you gained in the third house, 12th house and ninth house. And then you do this experiment of all what you've learned. And basically you've got this how-to training going on with that. Now, the reason why I wanted to mention this, because this time around, we've got the facts, right? With this Gemini going retrograde, Mercury going retrograde. But it does rule Virgo as well. So we do need to test it. We do kind of need to make a manual about it to see how it works. Right? And Pluto actually tells you to do that as well in the sign of Capricorn. How are you going to make it work? Of course, on a global level, it very much talks about something to do with the personal needs, because Mercury is in Libra, so my needs and other people's needs. And then we've got Pluto, which talks about the government and bigger organizations and so forth, and overall the rules. Right. So one of the things which probably this aspect talks about is learning about your obligations, learning about your role in the society. We do need to be a little bit careful. We can have clashes with banks or with authority figures. Maybe imagine that, I don't know, for instance, recently my accountant had a kind of like an audit, and then he was uncertain about what to say, right? And then I had some type of clashes actually, because I was like, why do I need to tell you, what to say? We've gone through all this. Here are the documents, and this is exactly where the money got spent, and all those type of things. So you can have these little debates on a personal level with others. But it's definitely about talking things out with someone, maybe talking to a therapist, because the therapist can actually empower you, but probably being seen who you truly are. And that's one of the key messages with this aspect. Revealing your own truth, maybe it's just sharing a secret with someone which you swept under the carpet for a very long time. But as I mentioned, there is also this obsessive thinking quality around Mercury and Pluto. So we want to achieve something no matter what, because we are just hungry for that power. It's very possible that you want to be solving a problem, and then once probably Mercury goes direct, you might see the progress which you actually put so much effort into. But the danger here is that we can go over and over something in your mind, and then eventually it can create fear. And that's the Plutonian side of it. So something needs to be verbalized. Talking about taboos is actually a brilliant time this time around, rather than pointing at others, naming others, even being very sarcastic. Pluto Mercury square can be very sarcastic. Now, on a global level, I do believe that the Pluto Mercury will be affecting the exchange rate of currencies. because Mercury does rule exchange rates. So I'm curious to see how it will play out in the next 1 month. It's very possible to turn words inside out because we misinterpret what others wanted to say. So it's kind of like giving words into your own mouth. It's very possible that they're going to be discovered in an ancient book, for instance, during this period of time, right? Or it's very possible that someone wants to control the social media channels or wants to control certain type of words. That's very possible also. It's also, it can also be imagined that someone will get very harsh critiques because Pluto Mercury is very critical overall, and it can even go to the shaming level as well. Now, as I mentioned, Eris, the asteroid, is also in the picture because it's triggering both of them, and she is the goddess of discords. So she is causing frustration because she believes that we might be going through some type of identity crisis. It's in the sign of Aries. So she wants to draw attention to this identity crisis. So it might be that someone is whispering certain type of things into someone's ears, and then that is causing this Pluto Mercury square being very harsh, basically. Okay. Now, another thing which you might want to be looking at is the Mercury is ruled by Venus, which is in opposition to Uranus. Now, I made a video about that, so check that out. I don't want to be going into so much detail, but what I did not mention in that video, and then I spotted it recently, that actually Venus is going out of bound on the 10th of October. And Venus is ruling the equinox, Venus is ruling the new moon. So I think it's a boiling point. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, whenever a planet goes out of bound, basically it has got this Uranian flavor. So between the 10th of October to the 25th of October, I'm expecting a boiling point happening somewhere in the world. It definitely will affect the financial market. Typically, the out-of-bound Venus is actually taking the prices way up there, and then when it goes back in bound, there is going to be a rectification around it. But with this Pluto, you know, it can go to the extreme, so watch out for that. Now, going back to this Mercury and Pluto a little bit more, it can cause, you can start attracting sneaky people, or you can become very suspicious about other people's motives. Like at the back of your mind, there is always a little bit of a trigger there, or something which is questioning other people's motives. So another thing which I think comes up with this Mercury retrograde in the next 1 month, who can I trust? What information, what sources? Because actually Pluto is the source of information. So what source of information can I trust? Can I trust my partner? Can I trust my business partner, my loved ones, my relationships, and so forth? So listening to ourselves, I think it's very important. How we process information during this period of time is very important. What type of filters you use when you're actually looking at data? How you analyze the information? Do you have some type of fear to communicate, fear to speak up about something? Are you trying to avoid speaking about what really matters to you? So now Mercury, the first aspect it's going to be making is going to be the opposition to Eris, that asteroid. And then after, it's going to be making the square to Pluto, and finally it will be having a trine to Jupiter. Now that's the kind of like the helping point of this chart, the Mercury trine Jupiter. But I did make a video about this also. So If you are curious how Mercury and Jupiter are working together this time around, then I recommend checking that out. But very briefly, Jupiter wants us to see the bigger picture. It wants to teach us, but it wants you to teach others as well about something. Or it wants you to accept the teachings from other people also. So that's the main message. So kind of like collaboration, again, listening to others in a diplomatic way is going to be one of the ways how this Mercury, Pluto, Eris, T-square can be avoided to take it way too far. So some of the general stuff about what to do and what not to do during Mercury retrograde. So what you can do is you can thoroughly review all your contracts and legal documents before you actually sign anything. If possible, try to avoid it at all costs. You can actually think about completing unfinished projects, which you started before Mercury went into shadow periods. It could be actually that you might want to be reviewing some of your, or you can reread some of your text messages, emails, or work projects before actually you send them out, because you might be sending it to the wrong person. You can actually back up all your information on your computer. You can even do it twice. You can take your car to the mechanic to have a checkup. You can sometimes pause for a second before you talk. You might want to be counting to 10 before you actually something leaves your mouth. Or you can actually forgive those who have hurt you in the past somehow. But more importantly, you can forgive yourself. Now, what you shouldn't be doing is hastily signing any type of new contracts or papers without thinking this thoroughly through. Starting anything new might not necessarily be the greatest, or calling your ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, or buying some type of electronic devices or gadgets, or jump to conclusions or assumptions during conversations. And that's a huge topic with this Mercury-Pluto square, or feeding into gossips, spreading rumors or false information, because eventually it's going to bite you back. So very briefly, these are the do's and the don'ts between or around the Mercury retrograde period. So another thing which I would like to mention is that Mercury-Pluto together can really scrutinize. So during Mercury retrograde, how I'm going to be preventing being so scrutinizing. So maybe that's kind of like the closure of this video. Thank you everyone for being with me. And if you like the video, press like, share the content with others, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can be notified about my upcoming educational videos. See you soon. Bye-bye.